What would happen if the deal goes through and it's sold to Tortoise? What does that mean for the Observer?
Well, there's every chance the Observer will go down, isn't it? I know that hard copy newspapers are in danger everywhere, and it seems to be something dodgy is going on. That's all we know. We shouldn't be in this state of doubt. Things should be completely open. We know what's going on, and that where solutions can be found, they should be found. But the idea that people sit in boardrooms coming up with shady deals, I mean, this is the 21st century. I mean, it's incredible. This is like, it's like the Wild West, cowboys behaving like this.
The Observer has been hitting newsstands every Sunday for the past 233 years. But that might all be about to change as bosses have negotiated a sale of the paper to Tortoise. But staff aren't happy about it. We came down to speak to them as they begin their 2-day strike.
This is actually a very successful company. It's sitting on a cash pile of £1.3 billion, which is that it has found an economic model that's worked very well for it, and of which we are, I think, an important part. So, it's clearly a part of a wider story about the decline of print and the rise of the internet, but within that, print has an important part to play, and the Observer's online offer has an important part to play for the company.
If that's the case and there really is enough money to keep it going, why is this decision being made?
I've no idea. That's very baffling to me. I mean, that the company's account is that we have a bright future with Tortoise Media, which I don't really accept, and that in some ways our continued existence here is an impediment to the Guardian, again, which I don't accept, because, as I said before, with the amount of money the company has to develop its own journalism, the sorts of figures that we're talking about make no real difference to that at all. So I find it mystifying.
What we have is big public institutions, and I'm reminded of football teams as being another one, where they're sold over the heads of the employees, the workers and trade unionists. They're sold over our heads. And it's outrageous. We can't open the books, we can't see what's going on. And you're talking about the product. In this case, it's a form of quality journalism, liberal journalism. And that's what's put in jeopardy by this. So I'm here to support. I'm a freelancer. I work sometimes for The Guardian, sometimes for The Observer. So, of course, I'm very happy, more than happy, to come here to support colleagues.
What would it mean for the journalists if this deal did go through? What will happen?
Well, we believe it puts both Guardian and Observer journalism at risk. It doesn't make any financial sense to take a Sunday newspaper that's so integrated into a 7-day news and media operation and to try and set it up as a standalone. There are huge financial diseconomies of scale, and it's a difficult financial world out there, as we all know. So it puts the Observer at financial risk. It would massively reduce the reach of Observer journalism. So at the moment, our journalism gets read, every week on average. We have well over 10 million hits. That's both in the UK and internationally. The proposal is to put Observer journalism behind a paywall that at best, with very ambitious paying subscriber targets, would be available to, tens of thousands of paying subscribers. So it's a huge cut in the reach of the UK's only Sunday liberal left-wing newspaper.
I write for the Observer. I do 4 jokes every 2 weeks for the Observer, and it becomes increasingly difficult to be able to write about what you want when the newspaper or the source of information is controlled by other forces. And like we've just seen this happen in the States with the Washington Post, where they weren't able to make the point that they wanted to because of who owned the paper. I'm not saying that would be the same with the Observer, but it is an alarm call. And there's never been a time where we need an independence of the press able to tell the truth more, because you've got people like Elon Musk coming in, taking control of the means by which information is disseminated and spreading actively false information with real consequences for people's lives.
Well, I believe, even if I think we've got to have a wide range of media outlets, one of the most important things, isn't it, in democracy, that you have the kind of spread. And I suppose, the Observer is one of a dwindling number of more progressive publications, shall we say, that are obviously struggling in some ways. Yeah, so you've got to support them and hope that they thrive. And of course, I'm here to support my wife.
Most importantly.
There is a very, very, very large trust fund that sits behind the Scott Trust. It's currently just under £1.3 billion. So while we're not owned by an actual billionaire, we are essentially a billionaire. And we calculate that for like a fraction of 1% of that trust fund per year, we could invest in the Observer, work closely with our Guardian colleagues, and make the Observer a brilliant news brand that's digital and that has a future as print slowly reduces.
And for you personally, what would it mean if the Observer was sold and ended up disappearing?
Well, I stepped down. I retired 2 years ago after working 2 weeks ago. I beg your pardon. After working for nearly 40 years for both titles, it would be a tragedy. I think I was here when the Observer was first taken over by the Guardian. I've watched the papers sort of grow together in some respects. It's never been easy. There have always been tensions and issues to resolve, but it would feel to me like it's sort of, it's the breaking up of a very coherent and a family of titles. I think it would be a tragedy for me, but not for me, but for the country's media.
If you think the whole idea of all the legislation around capitalism to do with monopolies and to do with fair trading, you get a sudden deal like this comes up on the horizon and it all seems to be dispensed with. I mean, it's a mystery, and it shouldn't even be a mystery.
Do you believe when they say that the Observer is no longer financially viable going forward?
No. So if you look at the P&L that's officially produced, now it's true it doesn't take into account some shared costs, but it still shows us as a net contributor financially, looking at the costs that they include to the company. That's because the Observer still has, a very healthy share of print revenues on a Sunday. We bring in advertising revenues. We obviously pull in readers, and there are digital revenues associated with that. So we think that the Observer's got a very healthy future as part of this news group, and we're really willing to talk about the Observer's future. Guardian and Observer journalists want to have a constructive conversation with our management and our owners of Scott Trust. We're lucky to be owned by, we're owned by a billionaire asset, a billionaire fund, a £1.3 billion fund. So there's no reason for a hasty decision here. We want to have constructive conversations about what the Observer's digital future looks like within the group, and we're very willing to talk. We don't see the need for a hasty decision. All we're asking for is for a proper, considered pause and for constructive talks with Guardian and Observer journalists. It's journalists and readers who've got a massive stake in the future of the journalism of this company and the £1.3 billion, and we want to be part of those decisions, and we think that's a really reasonable
I just
ask.
wanted to say, the Guardian sometimes gets a lot of stick from the left, but frankly, we all still turn in and tune into it, we all still read it, and the Observer, and it plays a really critical part in our media landscape. I don't know, you probably know this, but in the regions our media is literally dead, and you guys are really, in effect, one of the last bastions of left liberal opinion in this country, whether you like it or not. And what I would say to your management and to the Scott Trust is, if you want to be a progressive voice, you have to treat your staff progressively, and they've not done that.
Do you think this signifies something larger in the media landscape in terms of, shifting towards a model where print newspapers no longer matter? Do you think this is the end of print? Do you think this is the start where we're seeing print is going to die?
Well, I think we are actually in a moment where the whole issue of print is a problem, whether people want to buy newspapers, whether they're going to access news, comment, opinion and features through print journalism. It does seem doubtful. Even magazines are finding it hard to survive. But again, there are ways of getting subscriptions online, encrypting and so on. People still want news, they still want comment, they still want opinion, they still want to know what's going on. And there have to be viable ways of doing it, and also paying people to write the stuff. But doing it this way with shady deals behind back doors, is not the way.
They say that they're selling it, right, because it's not financially viable. Do you think that's not true?
We don't think it's true. I think there is, and I don't want to mischaracterise what we've been told, but essentially The Guardian have told us that they don't want to invest in the Observer, and therefore, unsurprisingly, the future for the Observer doesn't look very good. Now, that appears to be a bit of a sort of chicken and egg thing, that we believe that with investment, the Guardian and the Observer together can succeed and can thrive.
I love the paper. It's a 233-year-old paper. It's the world's oldest Sunday newspaper. It's the UK's only remaining left-wing liberal newspaper. It's such an important part of our media landscape in terms of balancing out our media landscape. We've played a really important role in the history of the UK and more broadly. So we were really instrumental in the anti-apartheid movement. We were instrumental in the setting up of Amnesty. But, you know, looking forwards, there's a lot of journalism that we've got to give, and we think it's really important in terms of balancing out the country's newspaper sort of landscape that we have a liberal left-wing newspaper on a Sunday.
And in terms of the Scott Trust values of promoting liberal journalism, why would you not want to own the Observer, which is the premier Sunday liberal title in the country?
My outfit is one I designed. I designed the fabric and the outfit, and it's very hot. I don't get that many opportunities to wear it. I thought, this is perfect.